Hey, Alicia, can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh,
hiya,
yeah.
you're right.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, it looks like it's just you and me today.
Okay, that's all right.
So, um, today shouldn't take too long, really. We're just going through some of the bits around starting and the first few bits and pieces that you need to do to get on your way with doing your social impact reporting. So, but
Okay, then that's cool.
yeah, I don't know if anyone else is going to join us, but I'll just crack on. I've got a few examples and things to show you.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, so we'll just get started anyway. Right, so in terms of today, it's all around getting this clarity around your mission, values, and objectives, and then deciding what you're going to look at for your social impact report. So, in terms of the first thing, if we just go back to last week when we looked at all the key steps that you've got to go through, what we're going to be looking at today is these first two steps in the process. So as we go through the other webinars, the other 4 webinars, then we'll then go through these other steps. And so does that make sense?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, cool. Right. So that's then obviously once we've done most of the other stuff, then these would be the other steps that we'd go through. It's kind of cool just having you on here.
My own personal webinar.
Yeah. So, the first thing then, in terms of the mission, values, and objectives, is to get really, really clear on the mission of your organisation. And there's this big, long kind of explanation, which is a statement which briefly describes the nature of an organisation, clearly setting out why it exists and what it does in readily understood and remembered terms. But I'm like, actually, there's a far simpler way. It's really your reason for being. What's the reason for your organisation existing? Some examples that I've got on the next page are things like to be the leading organisation for women's professional development, to bring forward the day when all cancers are cured, to help people, communities and the organisations that serve them turn equality into reality. So it can be anything. So do you think you'd be able to do yours? Or?
Yeah, I think mine would be supporting young women aged 15 to 25 with personal, professional and parental development.
Okay. And what's the reason behind doing that support?
To empower these young women and to empower the young women and give them like a more positive outcome to life.
Okay, so probably your mission is more around empowering, to empower young women and to give them a positive outlook or outcome on life. Yeah. And then when we come to look at what your objectives are, then that would be around the personal development and training and the life skills that you give. So a mission is meant to be kind of more wider in terms of how it's explained. So not necessarily talking about specific activities, but what you're actually there to achieve more, really. Does that make sense?
Empowering young women. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Right. So the next thing then is to think about your values as an organisation. And this is about how you work and behave as an organisation. So there's a whole long list of potential ones that people can use on here. Let me just...
We can add to those though, can't we, Heidi?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, this is just examples in terms of what... Oh. Hi, Pauline. Didn't realise you were here.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I was late.
Let me just... oh, gosh, I've gone too far now. let me move back. So these are just some examples. So you're passionate, you've got teamwork, respect, equality, honesty, commitment, you're innovative, professional, fun, you're about service, you're experts, people-centered, accessibility. So it's really just about what your kind of ethos is as an organisation. And I've got an example in terms of, I just picked up an organisation, where are we? I can't find my screen now. Let me just, I think it's on Google. Let me just see if I can get this up. So what I got up was for Jericho, they've listed their values on their website, which is quite a nice thing to do if you have got clarity around your values. So they've got we respect and value all those we work with and the contribution that they make, and then they've got a whole list of things in terms of how they behave in order to be respectful, and then another one around love, and then integrity further down, and equality and excellence. So only 5 values. Generally speaking, if you have too many values, it can be quite complicated. Who's that pinging? So generally speaking, I would say go for around 5 values for how your organisation is. Don't go for more than that, because potentially you then get too many and it becomes too complex to measure, to see if you are actually living up to those values. If you did want to get feedback from your people that you work with, and also from your other stakeholders, so perhaps from your staff and your volunteers as well. Okay. Any questions at all?
No.
No. So the list that you had there, Heidi,
on my screen.
Objectives as well. Are you doing another list of objectives, or that's just
we're going to look at objectives.
Yeah.
In a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So we've just talked about the mission. I don't know if you caught that bit, and then we've talking about values, and then we're going to move on to look at the objectives in a moment. So.
Okay, and is this webinar going to be available again, like the other one?
Yes.
Afterwards, yeah. So I can go back. Great, thank you.
Yeah. So they're all going to be recorded because quite a few people can't actually make the time. Yeah. Decided to do them. So yeah. Hopefully they'll be useful for people to look back at anyway.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right. So if we flick back to the slides in terms of obviously this is a list of values, so it's something to think about for your organisation, and it's quite a nice thing to have. Where organisations don't have a list of values, it does mean sometimes when you're recruiting people or volunteers or customers or beneficiaries are coming into your organisation, they don't understand what's expected of them. So if they didn't know that they needed to be respectful of other people, they might be quite rude and things. So it's quite nice to say, well, this is how we are as an organisation. Does it fit with you? And then they can either say yes and work with you, or they can say no and kind of move on somewhere else. So they're useful to have, and it's also something you can measure to see if you're living up to the standards that you're actually setting out for yourself. Okay. So let's have a look at objectives. So objectives are the things that the organisation aims to achieve. So usually done by delivering a number of activities. And this thing here, it just says, be clear about what you are seeking to achieve in terms of your objectives and what you actually do to the activities in order to achieve the objectives. So objectives for me always start with the word to. So it's quite. It then forces you to put an action word after it. So things like to promote, to deliver, to train, to educate, to identify, to overcome, to empower, all those things. And then the next word is, so if we have to promote or to educate, you then put by providing training or by providing or delivering something. So it's explaining what your action is and then how you deliver it. So to give you some examples of that, let me go back to the internet and show you. So I printed off, where is it? This social impact report. Well, I didn't print it off, I've got it on my screen, but it's quite good on Salford Community and Voluntary Services website. Hopefully you can see that, salfordbs.co.uk.
Yeah.
They have a list of all those social impact reports they've helped to produce.
Great.
So it's quite a useful resource in some respects. Some of them are only one-page ones, so they're not going to be massively helpful in showing you what people have done, but they give you some kind of overview. But the one that I want to show you was this Chapel Street Community Arts, and this is what a completed social impact report could potentially look like, and it's not too long. So they've got their introduction, they talk about the number of people they've actually worked with and where they come from, then they've got their financial information, and then they talk about the different projects that they've delivered. So very, very similar to what you'd get in a normal annual report. And then they talk about, in terms of their social impact and social value, what they've actually spent in terms of delivering those projects, what the outputs were, so the numbers of people that they worked with, and then they finally talk about the really important bit, which is the outcomes or the difference that they've made. And they've got a few comments from the people that they worked with, and then they've scored the people on and the wellbeing scale of how they've increased in terms of their number that they scored themselves from the initial number that they scored to the final, to show that actually they've changed those outcomes for people. So things like learning, confidence, inclusion, influence, and health and wellbeing have all increased. So actually what they've done is not massively complicated in terms of what they've actually reported and got in their accounts, but they've also then talked about the economic difference that they make in terms of trying to value the number of volunteer hours that they have, and a few case studies in there, which is always something that I like. But the bit that I want to really just show you is where they've got their aims on this last page, which is what we're calling objectives, is the kind of examples of things that you need to come up with for your organisation. So theirs are to improve the confidence and wellbeing of people in our excluded communities through creative engagement, to increase participation in creative activities, to enable volunteers to gain new skills and knowledge, to increase knowledge and understanding of community issues, and to develop services in response to the local needs. So again, with objectives, usually 5 or 6 maximum in terms of how you actually deliver on your mission. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah, that's good.
Is that the aims? Is that where I'd put in the personal, professional, and parental development stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if it's about improving their confidence to live independently, or to I don't know, be able to manage their lives more effectively, to increase their ability to live independently, whatever you decide are the key things that you want to deliver through those services, really.
Okay.
So did Salford CVS help these people to create this report?
I think they help them with doing their social impact reports, yes,
Yeah.
which is why they're all on their website in terms of they've received some
Great.
support through there.
Great, because I'm meeting somebody from Suffolk CVS tomorrow, so it'll be nice to just talk about it.
Funny,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just randomly picked this one, is it? Yeah. So yeah, there is some support out there to help with doing social impact reports, but it mainly tends to be linked to where you're going for contracts or you're going for investment at the moment, unless it's from smaller organisations which have got a little pot of money to do something. So that's unfortunately the way it is now. It's all about trying to get people contract or investment ready at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions around the mission, values or objectives?
No, that's all good.
No. So really it's the homework for part of the homework today is to get really clear on your mission, your values and your objectives, because if you haven't got the clarity around those, when you come to then measure what you're actually delivering, you've got nothing to measure against, because you don't know what you're existing for, and also what activities and services you're delivering in order to achieve your mission.
Yeah.
And then the second bit of today's session is thinking about what you actually want to measure in terms of the social impact. So what I've done with a number of organisations, because they're quite large organisations, is drilled down a bit, and they've decided they're going to look at specific activities. So one organisation, they do a lot of counselling and health services, and what we decided with them was we would just look at a specific service, which was an eating disorder service. Another organisation, it was looking at how they work with ex-offenders, and they did a whole range of services with people that had drug and alcohol issues. So depending on what your ambition is for your first social impact report, you might decide you want to look at everything your entire organisation does. Generally speaking, I don't recommend you do that unless you are quite small, because you may not have the data ready to do that, and that means that you've then got to spend quite a bit of time collecting lots of data before you can deliver your first social impact report. If you think back to that example that I showed you where they do the creative projects and arts, their first social impact report is quite simple. They haven't drilled down into lots of detail. They've just picked a couple of projects and looked at those. The other way you can do it is to look at specific geographical areas or particular client groups, perhaps a particular school or partner that you're working with. And then what another organisation did that I was working with, they knew that one of the services that they were delivering currently was going to be coming up for tender early next year. So they decided that they wanted to do a social impact report on that, so that they'd have evidence to send to the commissioners that their service was of value and worthwhile. So this is the second thing to think about in terms of what would you like to measure for your organisation. Are there any questions around that? No? Okay.
No.
Right. Okay. So have a think about that as well, because that will then define how big your social impact reporting work will be, and it will also, when we come back, we'll start to think about who do we need to talk to in terms of the stakeholders, and what data do we need to be collecting in order to start measuring for that particular area of the organisation or that particular project.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So I think in terms of today, that's it. As I said, it would be quite a short session today, because most of it's actually you guys going away and doing some thinking and outlining what your mission, values, objectives are, and also what you want to actually measure in terms of the scope of your social impact reporting. So I will be sending out a couple of sheets to help you with doing this activity and this exercise, so that you're ready for next week's webinar.
Great.
If people do want to send anything through for me to have a look at once you've done it, then please feel free to do that. Okay, so what I would do, if anyone's got any other questions about anything at all, or
when do you think you'll be sending out the papers, Heidi?
I'm hoping either this afternoon or tomorrow they should be out.
Okay. Well, I'll wait till get them, and then I'll get back to you if I need to.
All right. Okay. And then obviously next week we're going to start looking at who our stakeholders would be that would need to consult based on what you've defined as the scope, and also starting to think about the data collection.
Yeah, great. Look forward to that.
All right. Alicia,
are you still taking? Sorry.
That's all right, Pauline. Carry on.
Are you still taking new joiners, or have you?
Yeah,
closed?
it's fine. People can join because I am putting the webinars on publicly anyway, so people can just review them in their own time, and then obviously join in as they go along. So there's a few people that are just watching the recordings all the time anyway. But the idea is that obviously if you're on the webinar, you can ask questions as you go through.
Yeah.
As opposed
I was just thinking, I'm doing this event tomorrow, which is getting for CVSs from around the country, and I think this might be of interest to some of them. Mm-hmm. So would it be all right to mention it to them?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay then. Right. Thanks. So what I'll do, I'll stop the recording. If anyone wants to stay on and chat, we can do afterwards. All right. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.